inclusive environment as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your question, Kirby. We can definitely share some more information a little later. Like I said, we'll send the slide deck out. If anyone has any requests for resources, feel free to pop those in the chat and we will try to get those to you. And now I am excited to introduce our first presenter, Deb Weber from WCTC.
Thank you, Jamie, and good morning, everyone. I just want to thank Disability in Wisconsin for inviting me today. It really means a lot, and thank you to the presenters that went before. It's really inspiring to hear about opportunities to employ all individuals in the workforce, including those with disabilities or more, to capitalize on their ability levels and what they can do. So again, thank you, everyone. So let me just start with today. I'm going to talk about building your talent pipeline with WCTC students and alumni. Many of these strategies are probably not going to be a new idea for you. However, I wanted to make sure that you knew about this opportunity. And as I talk about them, that is inclusive to our students with disabilities as well. Next slide, please. So first and foremost, I want to make sure that everybody knows how to connect with us and access all these strategies that I'm talking about. So in the chat, I just posted our wctc.edu/hire-WCTC-talent. And that platform is going to be able to help you access everything I'm going to talk about. First and foremost, all of our students and alumni can be accessed through our Handshake job database. That's our online database, and all 2- and 4-year colleges and universities in the state of Wisconsin utilize this platform. And we did that specifically for employers to make it easier so that you can reach the 2- and 4-year Wisconsin students and alumni from all of our system schools. So that's for you. WCTC's Career Connection Department, which I am the director of. I apologize, I didn't introduce myself right away. And we manage over 30 different academic programs, internships here at WCTC. And so we have a complementary system called Intern Connect, and that is specifically for employers to post their internship opportunities to our students. And the students who have access to Intern Connect are those that we know that are actively searching and going to be doing an internship within the next 1 to 2 semesters. And so the best time to be posting those internship opportunities in Intern Connect are about 3 to 4 months prior to the start of our semester. So our summer semester starts the first week of June. Our fall internship semester starts mid-August, and our spring internship semester starts mid-January. So just count back 3 to 4 months from there, and that's the sweet spot to post your internship opportunity. Or if you have a rolling internship, you can just leave it posted there. Next slide. As I mentioned, we have an internship program. It's centralized with over 30 academic programs for our students. And this is a great recruitment opportunity for many employers. 50 to 60% of our students remain at the employer past their internship. Next slide. But not everybody can do an internship or has an internship opportunity, and you still want to get in front of our students and our alumni. And so we also partner with our Workforce Development Center, partners such as you've heard some of them mentioned today, a DVR, Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. We have Forward Careers in the Waukesha County, who is our Workforce Innovation Opportunities Act funder, as well as ACWIS, which funds Wisconsin Works and Food Share Employment and Training. And we work with all of these partners and more, such as Independence First, to help our students become employed. And all of those partners can provide services to individuals with disabilities and provide that job coaching to assist you as employers to connect them and have them working on your site with an additional level of support. So again, our job fairs, you might not have seen us mention a job fair on our online recruitment Google Calendar. That's because since the pandemic, since we returned to campus from the pandemic, we've noticed that a lot of our students are letting us know that they are already employed in the field. Or if they're not currently employed in the field, they have a plan on how to get employed, and that's typically through family or friend. However, we want to make sure that our students are aware of all the job opportunities that are out there for them and the companies that are out there for them. And so now we have been calling our job fairs meet and greets. And this is an opportunity for us to partner with our academic programs. We usually partner with specific classes, and we bring employers on campus, and the students go and they know that they're supposed to be practicing their networking skills. They're supposed to be learning about your company's job opportunities, as well as just career pathways within your organization. And that helps them become more informed about what else is out there. So we will be happy to promote your on-site or virtual job recruitment opportunities on our Google Calendar. You just got to send them to us, as well as you can also find when we are offering those as well through our Google Calendar. Additionally, we have on-campus recruitment opportunities for you where you can come individually to campus. We recommend that you come on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday between the hours of 10 to 2, or for that whole period of time. And that's because the table that we place you at is located in our college center cafeteria called the Hub, and those are the highest traffic times. And we of course market that through email, electronic signage, and bulletin boards across campus, so students are aware, but it's also nice when they don't necessarily see those things and then get to bump into you. Next slide, please. So those are probably the things that you're most familiar with. Here are some that are a little more specific to WCTC. We offer open houses in November and March every single year. And during those open houses, our prospective students, as well as their family members, come and take a look at WCTC, its buildings, meet the faculty, see the programs, see the labs. And then we also encourage our employer partners to have tables where they bring in their WCTC students or alumni that are working for their organization. And that allows employers like yourself to brand your career path and job opportunities, as well as it helps our prospective students and families see how the education that our students are receiving directly relates to a job post-graduation. Next slide. We also have advisory committees. We have over 100 programs at WCTC, and every single one of those programs has an advisory committee that meets twice a year, and they're made up of 5 to 15 employers. And in those advisory committees, they're talking about, we're asking you to tell us about what are the industry trends that you're seeing, what are your workforce needs, what should we keep in our curriculum, change in our curriculum, or delete from our curriculum based on those industry changes. And so your advice is important to us. And if you want to become involved in that, please, again, send us an email and let us know at hiretalent@wctc.edu. Next slide, please. Additionally, we have employers who call us and they say, hey, can I just get in front of a class? Of course, we want to help you get in front of our students. And one way to do that is to connect with our faculty members, but not asking them to just get in front of a class for 5 minutes, but instead offer to teach one of those skills that they are teaching in the classroom through either a virtual visit or an on-site visit. So let me give you an example. You could look at our website at our manufacturing engineering technology program. You might be a location where you do cold processing. And so you would notice that we have a class called manufacturing cold processing. And you could contact that employer and offer to have the class come and tour, where the students can see the blueprint of the part to the raw material being changed into the end result of the part. And then they can actually see how all of that works on a hands-on environment opportunity while you can continue to promote and brand your organization. Next slide, please. Of course, social media is a great way to connect, and just simply when you have an opportunity and it aligns with your social media practices, go ahead and highlight the students or alum that are working within your organization and tag us. And that way our students start to see your connection to their program as well as WCTC. Next slide, please. We don't have as many employers take us up on this opportunity, but that means you can be one of the first and noticed. Lunch and Learns. If you come up with an idea of a skill or an informational session that you want to provide, we can coordinate that because we have all the abilities to provide that via completely virtual, hybrid in a classroom, or straight face-to-face. And so you can send us the marketing materials. We can coordinate that and send that out to all of our students and faculty and get your information that you want to reach our students with out there. Go ahead, next slide. And last but not least, there's another opportunity. You could donate equipment. This is a win-win because, of course, we're going to have your name and company out there. This also means that our students are learning on the same machines that you might be using or the products that you might be using. And so the students will come out and they will actually have that hands-on experience on those items. And so you can be even more confident that it will take a quicker transition period to get them trained and ready to go in your organization. So it's a win-win for everyone. Next slide. I just want to thank everyone for your time. And again, thank the panel for all they did to organize this event. And if you have any questions afterwards, I'm happy to help answer those. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Great information. And now I am going to introduce Joy Kiefer of Mindshift.
Hi, I'm relatively new to this group. I am new to this group, not our organization. Some of you may know Josh Tigan, who is our president. I want to tell you a little bit about Mindshift because we have a fairly new presence in Wisconsin. Our organization is a 501c3 not-for-profit business. We're a business, but our profits, our not-profit side is really about vetting our candidates who are all individuals who are on the autism spectrum with level 1 or 2 support needs, meaning they're low to moderate support needs. They generally are individuals who haven't qualified for some of the other programs. We're not a program, we're a business, a staffing business, bringing an incredible talent pool to our various employers. And our focused population is the individual who's on the autism spectrum. So if you look at the next slide, our vision is a world of work where all people are valued for their different ways of thinking. So I was really interested and I appreciated the panel at the very beginning of this session today that talked about removing barriers, making sure people are able to be successful in good work that pays a decent living. And Mindshift has that same commitment with our population. Next slide. So what do you do with Mindshift? You partner with us to bring the competitive advantage of a neurodiverse population into the world of work. You know, we talk about individuals who have disabilities, and as a former special education director in the state of Minnesota, we have 13 disability categories in the state of Minnesota. Wisconsin has a few less. The federal government has less than the 13, but in Minnesota, we separated them into 13 categories. And people are often surprised to understand that individuals who are on the autism spectrum as a group are the highest underemployed or unemployed population group. And that is one of the reasons our board of directors determined that that was the group that we were going to focus on. And then when we look at the population, the spectrum of individuals, many individuals do qualify for programs that have been mentioned, and those are excellent programs, but some do not. And that is the population we look at. So we have talented people who are ready to work, and they are the people that are going to show up on time. I have a story of one individual who consistently came to work 30 minutes before her shift started, and our employment services team member got a call and said, tell her she doesn't need to come that early. We don't have anything set up for her to do. And the individual said, I want to come that early. So the business actually found some work organizing and cleaning the break room for that individual so that when she came to work, she had something to do, which I thought was pretty cool. Next slide. Our story really starts in Fargo, North Dakota, where Tim Hansen, who has a son who's on the autism spectrum, when his son was in his teens, he's now 28, I believe, he said, what is my son going to do after he gets out of high school? So he conceptualized this organization and started it in the Fargo, North Dakota area in 2014, and in 2015 it expanded in 2016 it expanded into the Minneapolis area, and in the following year it expanded into the Milwaukee area, and we have most recently expanded into Denver, Colorado, and we are looking as an organization to champion those individuals and bring the special competitive advantages of the highly focused, interested, committed individual who's on the autism spectrum. So what do we do differently than a traditional staffing agency? The traditional staffing agency recruits and places individuals, and that is just then after a probationary period, those individuals who were placed will either get an offer to move to direct hire, or they'll be released and they'll go somewhere else. So what we do is we go to the community, we find the individuals who are on the autism spectrum who have not been able to secure a work experience, as many do an entry-level work experience, or they are in a job that they want more out of, or they're in an educational program and they haven't been able to secure an internship perhaps, or they didn't even know they needed to have an internship. I was interested, of course, to see Deb say, we have internships, that's great. Then we recruit them and we spend a time with them that's supported by our donors. And we do not take government funding or federal funding for this process. We have private donors that do this, no cost to the individual. We spend 40 to 60 hours with them to really look at the soft skills and the business skills that maybe aren't addressed so much in the educational program. The individuals build a business profile so that reflects their understanding of their strengths and weaknesses and challenges and how they are going to address those challenges within the workforce. And simultaneously, we work with our business partners who have contracted with us to help train the frontline managers so that when they work with individuals, they know a little bit about folks who are on the autism spectrum, but they come in knowing a lot about the individual that is going to be working with them. Then they go to work. We work with the business and the individuals to make sure they get through the probationary period with lots of success. And then we support as needed and fade out our supports when the business develops the natural supports to work with that individual. So we do an end-to-end engagement, starting with the pre-hire and all the way through direct hire. Next slide. So we do have partners in Wisconsin and as well as the other states that we work in, and they are organizations that come to us and say, hey, we have an individual, we haven't been, if it's a program, we haven't been able to find a business, or we think there's something, would you be willing to meet with this individual? And that is some of how we get our talent. We also get our talent through word of mouth. Our business partners have individuals who have family members often, and they say, what about so-and-so? So we do word of mouth as well. Next slide. Again,
I want to make sure that you have time to talk about your testimonials. We're coming up really quickly on time here. So if you could.
Okay, so I've talked about this already. So you've seen it. We can skip that slide. We can skip that slide. And our business partners, just a few. We can skip that slide and let's look at our testimonials. These are each about 3 minutes in length. I don't know that I'm going to have time to share any of them, but if I did, I would share the gentleman on the top row, if you see him. Do we have 3 minutes? Can we listen to his testimonial?
Let's pop that into the chat, and if we have time at the end, we can bring that back up.
Okay, so our testimonials have both individuals who started with us and the top gentleman, he had a degree in a legal degree. He was an attorney, but he was not able to sustain his work as an attorney. He became very depressed and had issues with working. When he was ready to re-enter the workforce, he came to us. We started him with the business he's currently with. He worked with them for about 5 months. At the end of the 5 months, he had attained his certificate to practice law, and the company hired him as their legal support for contracts. So that's a really super story. And you can see all of the testimonials. The link is there. So let's go to the last slide. I think it's just thank you. We are looking to expand our presence in the Milwaukee area. I have a close connection to Wisconsin. I taught there for a number of years, and I got my bachelor's degree from the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, and my 2 older children were born in Wisconsin. My youngest got his degree in Marian University. He's a teacher in Neenah, Wisconsin now. So I am well connected in Wisconsin, and I would love to see our presence expand there.
On Wisconsin. Thank you very much, Joy. And now I am happy to introduce Katie Malnight of Engage Workforce.
Hello. Are you gonna pull up the slides? Whoop, thanks. Yeah, so I'm Katie Malnight Meisinger. I'm the Vice President of Operations for Engage Workforce Solutions. If you want to go to the next slide. So what we are is we are a staffing agency, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to redefine what it means to be a staffing agency. So we are primarily just focused on manufacturing and distribution. I come from about 7 years of manufacturing experience where I worked in HR and operations. And so one of the major reasons why I switched to the staffing side is because a lot of staffing firms don't do a good enough job building the relationship with the associates. A lot of times they just care about the clients. And so what'll happen is a lot of times the associates will actually go to the client and they don't feel connected to the client. They don't feel connected to the staffing agency. And so there's just a lot of churn and burn. If you want to go to the next slide. So what we are focused, like I said, primarily on just manufacturing and distributions. Half of our team comes from manufacturing and distribution. And I think it's a unique issue for manufacturing and distribution because I think they have the biggest walls up when it comes to working with folks that are either differently able, don't speak English, that sort of thing, because of the go-to, it's a safety issue. If you want to switch to the next slide. So what I wanted to focus on is not so much what we do, but obviously right now the staffing market is incredibly hard to find people. The labor market has never been tighter. And so I've spent pretty much the last year and a half with companies talking about how they are going to find people. And so every single company has been either resisting trying to raise pay dramatically, or they've raised pay dramatically. And so that is an option. But the problem is that a lot of time you're paying twice, or you're paying significantly more than what you were originally for the same amount of talent. The other thing is that if you raise pay dramatically, you're setting a standard. It's not like you can jump from $12 to $13 an hour a year ago and go up to $17 to $18 an hour, which I've actually had clients do that. and be able to go, okay, well, the labor market's loosened up 2 years from now. We're going to just lower the payback down. It's pretty much completely increased your entire overhead, and it's not going to be able to be reversed. A lot of times it also tends to attract job hoppers who are just going to automatically leave for the next dollar at the end of the day. And so if you want to go to the next slide, what I've really tried to, and what our organization has tried to do, is work with major manufacturers and distribution and try to get them to tap into the underutilized populations. So whether that be differently abled folks, we work very closely with the Down Syndrome Association of Wisconsin. We have a number of blind associates that work in our outsourcing division. We have placed deaf associates. It's really a very good group that gets very underutilized in manufacturing because they think that they're only going to be able to do like packing jobs, or they're only going to be doing light assembly. And so it's kind of, I forget who mentioned earlier the comment that someone came in early and they had to come up with something to do. Well, what we're trying to do is we're really trying to get them to understand that you don't really need to come up with different jobs for these folks to do. You just need to take the time to be able to understand who the person is and understand what they're good at and what positions they can actually be in. And a lot of times you can, I would say 99% of the time, you can place them in most of the positions that you would be placing other entry-level folks into. Another huge area that that I feel is really strongly underutilized is the diversity non-English population. A lot of companies, especially that have a lot of certifications in place, are very resistant to having non-English folks in. And so we have a very strong presence in our organization of folks, especially from the Hispanic population and also the Burmese, Karen, Rohingya population. And so we've had a lot of success with placing that group into companies, especially companies that are struggling with second shift, because second shift, generally the Burmese, Karen, and Rohingya prefer that shift. And so it's been a game changer for a lot of organizations because they've been able to go from having probably 20, 30 openings on their second shift to now they have a wait list on second shift, and we're having to struggle to find first and third shifters. Another area that we've worked with is high school and college kids. I think getting people exposed to manufacturing early is really important because I think it's a great industry. And a lot of times it's had a very bad rep, especially with millennials and that group. If you can go to the next page. So how we partner with clients to help the underutilized populations is, so we have what we call a workforce engagement program. And so that's one of the first things that I developed when I came here. And so basically what they are folks that have worked in direct manufacturing environments. And so they come in, they get a complete understanding of what the actual manufacturing or distribution process is. And then they pair with the client and act as an extension of their operations and their human resources team. And they help do tours, they help provide hands-on training because they'll spend about a week learning the process. They will help choose who the associates are. And so we have an upside assessment that we do, which is basically trying to understand what type of work people like to do. And so you're going to have very different personalities that like to come in every single day, do the exact same thing. They are really good at quality versus someone who wants to be constantly cross-trained. They want to be trained on a stamping press. They want to be able to do setups. They want to do process techs. That's a very different personality. And I think it's extremely important to have the same type of assessment on understanding what the skill set, what type of activities do they like to do, what work environment do they like to do, especially with the differently abled population. And so a really great story is the gentleman who's on the top right. That is So Win. So he actually has extremely limited English, but is also blind. And so we do a part for Briggs and Stratton, where it's basically a choke or a throttle. So it's a little plastic part that you're just putting a dust seal on it. And so it's basically like a foam donut on it. And so we were hesitant to bring him in on this process, or at least our team was, into the outsourcing half of our business, because we were concerned that if there's any nicks or anything on the dust seals, we'll have to throw them out. And so we just didn't want to have a quality issue. And so it was funny because this gentleman actually volunteered to come in and work for free just so he could prove himself. And so the production manager and I looked at each other, we're like, well, absolutely not. Are you coming in and working for free? Like, we'll find something for you to do. And so we were going to go through and have to fully 100% all of his parts. Well, he ended up within the first 30 minutes having a little pile of all the dust seals that had nicks in them. And so we don't have like full-time operators that do that. And so he's been excelling, hitting all of his KPIs. It's just been really fun to see that type of reaction with someone who most manufacturers would never, ever give an opportunity.
That is a perfect story. And I just want to give you the opportunity to talk about your community partners as well.
Yep. Yeah. So if you want to go to the next page. Yep. So we have a number of community partners. We, as I said, Down Syndrome Association of Wisconsin, I know Wendy's on. We work extremely closely. Javion, who's in the right, bottom right corner, has been with our organization, I think for a year now, Wendy, I want to say. And so we work with a number of refugee organizations to help when they first come into the country, easing them into things. One of the organizations that I wanted to call out is English for All Academy. For all of you who have issues with folks that don't speak English or speak limited English, we have partnered with her to do an internal training so that we have given English as a second language classes to a lot of our on-site leads and our workforce engagement consultants. And so within a semester, it was like a night and day difference. And it's been so nice because they've gotten so much confidence out of it. And what I like about her program is she's able to really customize it. So I would strongly suggest that if you have those issues, you reach out to them.
Awesome.
So thank you.
Thank you so much, Katie. That was fantastic information. And now we are going to move on to Tim Fox with CAI Neurodiverse Solutions.
Hello, everyone. How are you? So I've got the timer going, just so you know, so I'm keeping track of myself. So thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it. So my name is Tim Fox. I work for CAI. You can go to the next slide. We are, so to give a little bit of difference, we're an IT consulting firm. We've been around for about 40 years. And so we're founded out of Allentown, Pennsylvania. So we are a for-profit IT company. And there's a reason why I tell you the for-profit, because we measure all the work that our folks do. We do application support, development, quality assurance, testing, managed services. We started this autism at work practice. You can go back to you go to the next slide. We now call it Neurodiverse Solutions. But you can kind of skip a slide. I think everyone knows what the different neurodiversity piece is. And so our purpose at CAI is to help private and public organizations, I'm not going to read this to you, but drive value. And so we have a really unique employment model. So we have a whole turnkey end-to-end solution from beginning to the end. And so my job is to kind of call in large organizations to try to help either enhance their diversity and inclusion program that they're already doing, or to help start one. So we manage from the background all the recruiting and selection and training of the members, and also we help with cultural integration at different organizations. Next, please. And Jamie, just on a side note, before I kind of get this, as the best buddies person, my brother, the reason why this autism to work, which is Neurodiverse Solutions, is so passionate for me, is I had a brother who had cerebral palsy, had a full-time job, drove a car, and also was really good friends with the Shriver guys over at Best Buddies and was a member there for many, many years. So
That's
the
amazing.
CAI difference is that we've kind of done this thing for about 9 years now. We have about 12 to 15 clients, and we've put together teams of individuals, and I'll get into that in a second, who actually are neurotypical like you and I, and they sort of manage the team, and they're really the liaison between the client and the folks on spectrum. And so we have expanded our neurodiverse solutions to those with dyslexia, dyspraxia, any of the other ADHDs. So we kind of expanded our reach with regards to the folks that we're sort of recruiting. So this person also provides that we have a team lead, as I was talking about, that kind of provides leadership, guidance, and mentorship that helps manage these folks. folks. Next slide, please.
Sorry, Tim, I was just seeing your video, so let me get back to that.
We don't need to show, we don't need to show the video. You can just, because we can just, you can just share it in the chat.
Okay, oh, gotcha. Sorry, now.
No, you're fine. All good. I'm only at 2 minutes and 44 seconds, so okay.
Well, good. Oh, sorry about this. Rearranging some things.
Plus, there's nothing wrong with me taking a break from talking. They don't want to all hear me the whole time. Ask Tim now. He'll vouch for that.
There we go, but I did advance it already.
Okay. Keep going. Keep going. So these are just, go back to client partnerships. Sorry, go back to. Okay, so these are on the left side of the screen here. These are just areas where we have actual engagements right now. So at Citibank, they're redoing their entire ATM systems, if you can believe that. So we're doing some QA testing and quality assurance there. We've got teams that we started JP Morgan Chase, and my favorite story of all time is our team leads. So what we do is usually put a team lead in there with 4 or 5 folks on the spectrum, and they're the liaison, as I mentioned before. And so I said to one of our leaders, I said, what's the hardest conversation you ever had to have? And he said, I had to tell Jamie Dimon at a meeting that our team that was doing QA testing for 2.5 months have been outperforming their team that have been there for 2.5 years using the same metrics. And he was like, wait, what? So it was a very interesting. So we have teams at Huntington Bank, Kirkland Ellis, the largest law firm in the world here in Chicago. We've got teams in their risk management division. At Northern Trust, we have a large group of folks there doing they're actually validating risk-related data that's critical to the CIO. So that's super exciting. And my little favorite story about that is that this really is a career development program. That's kind of what we do. And so the neat thing is we had 2 people that were testers, and our executive sponsor came to us and said, hey, you know what we'd love to do? We would love to like promote these 2 developers and then backfill those positions. So it really was a career development program, which was made us really exciting. Now on the right are just, we have about 700 partners and affiliations and about, I'd say 35 that we're really close with. And this just kind of gives you a feel on the right of some of those folks that we actually have some affiliations with that help us with some of our staffing. So I'm glad I got a chance to kind of talk to some of you people. I've written some names down, some people I'd like to connect with. We have a couple of huge engagements coming up in Milwaukee. And so I would like to try to maybe try to connect with all you people, with some of you. So next slide, please. So it's really a team-based model. So, and what I mean by that is, I mentioned a little bit earlier, we put team members they're usually entry level, and the team lead is experienced within that technology. So they probably have, they understand your domain. So I've also shared a video that Anna just pulled up there. It's actually a really great video. It's about 3.5 minutes long. It's about one of our individuals on the spectrum. It's also from the business perspective. So the nice thing is this has really been a win-win for all the clients we've engaged with, because as you know, it's, as someone had mentioned earlier, how tight the job market is. The nice thing about these folks is they don't quit. They want to stay. They feel like they're adding value to the company. And so that's really kind of what's special about it. And what we usually do is, as a firm, it's usually a 1-year engagement. And if they want to, depending on how they want us to customize their solution, we can roll them over and they can become full-time employees for them. So next slide, please. So the team lead, as I talked about, is kind of critical. The criticality of that is amazing. They provide guidance, they're conflict resolution. They're also the first point of contact for escalation, should there be one. So they also help develop the metrics. So if a client is using metrics that they currently have, we want to adapt those. If they don't, we'll help sort of develop them that makes sense for them with their managers, so that they really get a feel that they're getting, really good value from these folks, so they see the return on their investment. So we have either weekly or quarterly status updates, depending on what the client wants at that point. So we help to drive their operational efficiencies and try to make it, worth it. What we've seen is, you'll see in the video, they talked about, we have 6 contractors there that were doing the work of 30. So they were always saving a ton of money on their SOWs, because these folks were, as you know, the busier they are, the better they feel, as you can imagine. So next slide, please. So this kind of is really the nuts and bolts of what we do, and I'll kind of go through this. So first of all, what we do is, I'll just use the Northern Trust Bank as an example. So once we engaged with Northern Trust and got the paperwork together, we had some executive sponsorship. we have the SOW sign. They wanted to start with a team of 4 individuals and a team lead. So our outreach team then immediately starts connecting with all of our partners, and also they also do the outreach as well. And so what we do is once we kind of establish, we usually have what we call a meet and greet, which somebody mentioned earlier, which I thought was fun. So we either do it on site or at our office. And part of that meet and greet is we invite individuals that are on spectrum that are looking for jobs that we find that work. And then it's about 3 hours long. The first 45 minutes, we kind of do what I'm doing with you now. We kind of talk about the program, give them a feel. We invite their parents, their job coaches to be there. And then at about 45 or 50 minutes, we either ask the job coaches to kind of step out of the room and their parents, and then just so that we can kind of get some little one-on-one time with them. And there's about 8 people at this meet and greet. And we put them together like a little series of like mini sort of assessments to kind of get a feel if this is something that they would like to do. And at the end of that 3 hours, we sit down with them individually and say, hey, is this something you'd like to do? What are your thoughts? And then we invite them to what we call our talent discovery sessions, what used to be called our job readiness training. And that's a 5-day program. And so in the first couple of days, they're usually doing an individual project. And really this 5 days for us is technically the interview, because that gives us a chance to really feel how they're doing. At this time, we've already hired the team lead. The team lead is building a relationship with these folks and really kind of getting to know them, understanding the client. They already have an understanding of the client's domain. And then in the third day or so, they're doing teamwork, team projects. We're providing feedback. We're also having one-on-ones. And during this time, we're actually mimicking the workday. So they come in, depending on what the client's workday is like. So they come in at 8:30, they get a break at 10, they get lunch at noon, they get a break at 2:30, they go home at 4:30. Teach them things like email etiquette and those sort of issues that we kind of all sort of take for granted. So at that point, then they're ready to go. If it's going to be on site, on that last day, we have like an environmental scan. And we also on that Thursday, let's say of that 5-day week, we invite the client if they want to come listen to the presentations, because they have scrum meetings, they do stand-ups, so they get a chance to really kind of mimic, as I said, the work week. So then on that Friday, we usually have like an environmental scanner that's going to be on site, so they get a chance to look at where they're going to be working. They get a chance to see where they're going to be working. There's a Kirkland Ellis. When we first started, it was so cool because when we got to do the environmental scan, all the individuals got to be there, and they had name tags on their cubicles. They were all ready to go, which was super cool. And like they were all taking pictures and sending them to their parents, which is super neat. And the other thing that we do, we provide what we call autism awareness training. And that is, let's say they're going to be on a floor of 20 folks. Whoever is at the head of that floor would send us their email addresses. We send them a link to an LMS system. They can start and stop if they want. It's about 45 minutes. Gives them a view from about 10,000 feet, what it's like to work with these folks on Spectrum. And if they want to, we can come in and do them a more in-depth sort of training if they need to. We pay them a fair wage. They get insurance benefits like everybody else. As I said, this is a career development program. So we really have a whole turnkey end-to-end solution. And then if you go to the next slide, and this just gives you a general overview of some of the jobs that have worked before, that we've done a lot of work in. A lot of QA testing, some fraud investigation. My favorite is we have the Florida toll systems where people are literally hanging out the window trying to cover their license plate so they don't have to pay the tolls. And our folks are like looking at all of those pictures that are taken to see if they can identify the license plate and what the car is. Don't ask me why they're doing it at 60 miles an hour to save $2. I don't have any idea. So that's sort of gives you a feel of some of the work that we do. Next slide, please. So what's next? So what's next? We connect with large organizations. We have a couple in Milwaukee. We're just about to finish signing our SOW, so I don't want to reveal their names yet, but we're going to be doing a lot of access management for them. So it's going to be a huge opportunity for us. And so with that, I hope you get a chance to look at the video. I want to make sure I got in under my 9 minutes, so I'm at 11. Sorry, I apologize. So I will stop talking. If anyone has any questions or anything like that, please reach out. This is very passionate to me, and I look forward to talking to anyone soon. Thank you.
Had to find the unmute button. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tim. And now we are going to throw it over to Darren Allen from My Choice, Wisconsin.
Okay, wonderful. And I will apologize up front. I have a really bad camera, see, so those of you that are about, my age, this is like old Max Headroom, right, from the 80s. So what I'm going to do, I just want to let you know I am here, see, but the camera's just too bad, so I'm just going to stop the video. So slide, I guess you have those up for My Choice. My Choice, we are a managed care organization that supports several state programs in about 57 counties here in the state of Wisconsin. All the programs that we support are Medicaid programs, and several of them are, or many of them are designed to support frail elders or adults with disabilities. As an organization, we're committed to improve health, the health of our members and the betterment of our communities. We're trusted stewards of public funds, since all of these programs are Medicaid programs. We care for the whole person, offering services that promote independence, value, diversity. Next slide. Our core values are all about serving our members. So you can kind of read through some of our core values here. Next slide. My Choice Wisconsin is the coming togethers, and many people on this phone call or in this, that are part of this presentation might recall, an organization called Care Wisconsin. My Choice Family Care and Care Wisconsin merged at the very end of 2019, beginning of 2020. And we officially rebranded. So I think for the first 8-9 months of 2020, we were called My Choice Family Care / Care Wisconsin. And then we officially rebranded October 1st, 2020 as My Choice Wisconsin. Next slide. So we support, as I stated, several state programs. Once again, all Medicaid. We have the Family Care Program and the Partnership Program. Family Care, once again, is really focused on frail elders, adults with disabilities. Partnership is kind of a hybrid of the long-term care support, program plus healthcare. We also have a Medicaid SSI program, a Medicare Dual Advantage program, which is essentially like Medicare, but it's really designed for people that have more special needs, people that are disabled and qualify for both Medicare and Medicaid. And it is a 5-star program here in the state of Wisconsin. And then we also have Badger Care Plus. For the purposes of this presentation and this program, we're really focused on kind of the work that we do in the family care and the family care partnership programs, in which we do focus our energy in helping our members that are part of those two programs with employment. Next slide. As I stated, we're in 57 counties. Not all products are in every single county. Our family care product is in 39 counties, and our partnership product is in approximately 8. We are currently in the bidding process for several of the counties in the northern westernmost portion of the state. And if granted through the RFP process, that might be an area that we could be serving in 2023. Next slide. So as I stated, our focus is on employment. And so when we're working with a member, when a member comes to us, and the members come to us through the Aging and Disability Resource Centers from all the counties that we serve, we start engaging with them with our care teams, a care manager, social worker, and a nurse. And the idea is to do a full-fledged assessment of their needs, their long-term care support needs, and if they're in the partnership program, long-term care and health. And part of that discussion and part of that work that we do is centered around employment and kind of understanding a person's goals and their desire to be in the workforce. And we work with many community partners, DVR, many of the employment support agencies here in Wisconsin. And we build a plan that to assist these individuals to find work. These are just some of the ads that we do run in some of the periodicals throughout the state, and we even do some billboard advertisement in various parts of the greater Milwaukee County primarily. But this is an active engagement process with My Choice. Now, can you go to the next slide? Yeah. So this is just an example. I didn't want to spend too much time on slides. This is about a minute long video, and I just kind of wanted to see if we can, if that
And we
works.
just plopped that into the chat, Darren. We're pushing it a little bit on time. I want to make sure you
Sure.
can get through everything, but we have
Yep.
that in the chat for you.
Sure, it'll be moved to the chat. That's great. But take a look at that. This is just an individual that works Southside Milwaukee at the Collectivo, a longtime employee, and of that Collectivo. People love him. So it just, once again, it just goes against all the myths that are out there. He's just a phenomenal employee, just a great worker. And I know we had other people on the line or on the front end of this program, like Emily from Marquette. And Emily might, as she's visited the bookstore, there on the Marquette campus, and she might have seen one of our members, Craig, that works and has worked in that bookstore for, I think, over 15 years at Marquette. So once again, just great success stories about longevity. Next slide. Once again, dedicated to the community, we support many organizations, many advocacy group organizations. Jamie with Best Buddies, we are a proud sponsor of Best Buddies. Matter of fact, the walk here in Milwaukee, I think early June, we're a sponsor of that. But a lot of different advocacy organizations, DSAW, you name it. We participate and support a lot of organizations, and we're always focused on, once again, as members come to us, focused on that whole aspect of employment. And for us, the work really starts at that young age, right? So we are engaged with a lot of the county communities on transition, the CCOTs, just in about every county that we work. And because, really it starts, getting a child, that's starting to age up, into that junior and senior year, and they're starting to work. That's, where we want to focus our attention to make sure that those kids transition. Sometimes it's harder to get a person that, that is disabled, to want to work, especially if they're at an older age like me, right, in their 50s. But when we get them, early, and we kind of get them into that cycle of work, those are great, true success stories. And so that's when our work begins. We really start early, even though we cannot support people in our programs until they turn 18. We do a lot of engagement early on with special ed teachers, once again, that are part of the CCOTs in throughout the counties in Wisconsin, just to start building that relationship, building the understanding of the programs. So as kids age out of child programs and get into adult programs, those parents have enough information to, help their child make very good decisions. And I think that might be the last slide that I have. Yeah, well, obviously member care during COVID was always a big deal. And so we followed all the state protocols for that. So I think that's it. If there's any questions, just shoot them in the chat.
Thank you so much, Darren. And now we're going to pass it over to Georgianne with UW Whitewater.
Hi there. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me, Disability In. As you have seen, there are a lot of resources and agencies out there to help you connect to individuals with disabilities. Before we talk about employment connections, I just wanted to mention there's Division of Oak Rehab, which someone had mentioned earlier, and they have employer incentives for hiring individuals with disabilities. And there's the Job Accommodation Network, someone had mentioned also. And there's also the Work Opportunity Tax Credit, and that's a federal program. And there is money also with the federal government potentially for some more costly accommodations that are out there. So that's just something to look up. You can find those resources online, obviously. So Employment Connections, we started Employment Connections back in 2016. And the idea, this was through our disability services offices. And the idea was we want to get our students, over 1,200 students we have that are connected at a small university to disability services at UW Whitewater, and to help them connect to employment upon graduation. Because as you've heard, people with disabilities have the lowest employment rate out there. So what we did was we also became a provider. You can go to the next slide. We became a provider for Division of Oak Rehab, vocational rehabilitation. So, and that's how we're supporting our program and paying for it. So we have a couple of different sides. We have our student side and we have our DVR side of things. But we started in disability services, but now we're under the Center for Inclusive Transition Education and Employment at UW-Whitewater. As I said, we're a service provider for Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. We provide resources for UW-Whitewater students and alumni, and we provide resources and connections for employers. You can go to the next slide. As a DVR service provider, we do their, we have to put together plans. We do temporary work experience or internships, and that's where DVR actually pays the wages and liability is covered through those experiences. Employer outreach, retention services, accommodation guidance, job shadows, a number of things. On the student side of things, we collaborate with our career services, and we will work one-to-one with students to do their resume, cover letter refinement, just provide a little more support for our students, some interview prep. We do a number of different workshops on campus. We'll do the difference between self-identifying and self-disclosure workshops. We do workforce recruitment program, which is a federal program that many universities across the country participate in, and major large universities participate in, and private employers can be a part of that, where you'll get a database of the students and majors, et cetera, and where they might want to work, et cetera, and you can reach out to them. We've done employer lunch and learns pre-COVID. They were on campus and they we had much more participation because the employer would basically buy lunch and we'd have a number of students. We've done that specific to just individuals with disabilities, but also just general diversity outreach, where we would reach out to different areas of our campus and student organizations for diversity outreach for employers. And following those workshops, the lunch and learns anyway, we have had employers who did interviews right after in our interview center on campus. So and we're moving back toward that for fall of this year. Unfortunately, COVID impacted that. We also share employer opportunities with our students. We will email our students that are connected to disability services. If you have an opportunity, we can email out specific to majors too. So, and then resources. We just went through that. You can go to the next slide. And we've had a number of different partnerships with businesses since 2016. Recent ones were the Milwaukee Admirals with an internship, and the Wisconsin Legislative Human Resource Office. American Family has come on campus for lunch and learns. WIS TV, current internship. TDS, we've had a connection with for a long time, where they would send us opportunities that we'd send out and get students connected. Meekum Auctions is great. Festival Foods, Fairfield Inn and Suites. I think I have the hardware store on there too, True Value. So we connect through DVR, we connect directly with employers, and also through our lunch and learns. That's the direct connection. But any opportunities that you might have for individuals with disabilities that you want to do some outreach for, you can definitely reach out to me. I can get it out to our students. Like I said, we have over 1,200 students that are connected to disability services, so individuals with disabilities. And we will do the diversity outreach as well. So for you. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Georgianne. And last but not least, our final presenter for the day is Shannon Webb, here to talk about Partners with Business.
My background working. I'm not sure how to control that. I changed it in my, in my Zoom account, but it doesn't seem to be working right now. Any tips for that, or should I just let it go at this point in time?
Yeah, I think we let it go. Background looks great.
Sorry about that. At least it's an office type of looking background. Anyway, hi everybody. My name is Shannon Webb. Thanks for having me. I'm here with you today to talk about Partners with Business. I'm a consultant working on employment initiatives, both in Wisconsin and nationally and with other states, to increase the number of people with disabilities in the workforce. So I appreciate you inviting me today to talk with you about Partners with Business. It's an introduction for ... Apparently I didn't delete that, but it's for all of you. Next slide, please. All right, so the Partners with Business initiative, it was actually a legislative act that was passed in the 2017-2018 fiscal year. And so it provided funding. It was a bill passed by the legislature that provides funding to employment service providers that serve people with disabilities, as well as businesses or high schools or any entity that wants to work on increasing capacity and employing more people with disabilities, especially people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. The funding bill provides grant money and training and technical assistance for any entity in Wisconsin that wants to apply to get those funds and that assistance. Next slide, please. You know, the reason why the legislature passed this bill and provides these resources now to, you know, businesses and agencies across the state is because we know that employers have increasing workforce demands, right? And increasingly looking at tapping into different talent pools and, you know, hiring diverse people, especially people with disabilities. We also know that many people with disabilities want to work, and they're an untapped resource that's trying to connect with employers. And we also know that you know, the agencies that support people with disabilities, so supported employment agencies, vocational agencies, whatnot, they are encountering a workforce shortage themselves and don't have an adequate supply of job coaches to support people that have you know, needs for job coaching support long term on the job. And so what this Partners with Business initiative is trying to do is support the, you know, those vocational agencies as well as the employers that hire people with disabilities to implement best practices that result in more natural workplace supports for people with disabilities, as well as you know, utilizing a new resource that we have that's called paid coworker supports. And I'll go into that a little bit here as we go on in the presentation. So next slide, please. So the grant funds come from an state organization called the Wisconsin Board for People with Developmental Disabilities. Every state has what's called a Developmental Disabilities Council, and ours is housed within the Department of Administration. So the funds that were, you know, appropriated by the legislature go to the Wisconsin Board for People with Developmental Disabilities, or BPDD for short, to disperse out to businesses and service agencies and other organizations and high schools across Wisconsin. And so there's a request for application process that we go through, and actually we'll be sending those out probably within the next couple of months. So if this presentation interests you and you want to follow up with me and make sure you get that application, just feel free to do that. But you can also get on BPDD's mailing list, and you'll get that information as well. So so yes, the board, you know, disperses the funds and also provides the training and technical assistance to employers and service agencies across the state. Next slide. All right, so what happens is that organizations and businesses that get the grant funds, we ask them to learn about and utilize, you know, what we call Partners with Business strategies, and I'll go into those next. And that's where the training and technical assistance comes in. Next slide, please. All right, so the, you know, 10 essential Partners with Business strategies are finding the right job match. So how do you do that? How do you, you know, tap into that talent, find the right person for what you have, you know, within your organization or your business in terms of unmet needs or job openings. You know, really helping employers take the lead on, you know, onboarding their employee, training their employee, and supporting their employee with a disability. So, you know, helping employers know how to do that. You know, for the service agencies involved, and sometimes for employers, it's really kind of coming up with those job and task analysis, like what is the job, breaking down the job and the steps of the job, and supporting someone to learn that. Job coach agencies use what's called systematic instruction. So if they haven't, you know, been implementing best practices with that, we'll provide training and technical assistance to do that. We do a lot around incorporating assistive technology on the job for employers and for the agencies that support people with disabilities. You know, there's understanding the job coach role. So sometimes employers don't understand why someone, you know, from the outside has to come in. And sometimes, you know, that can become confusing about who's responsible for what. So next slide, please. We support the businesses and agencies to conduct cultural analysis in order to maximize workplace supports, you know, identify those natural supports. And then if a person still needs ongoing job coaching supports, but, you know, the employer doesn't necessarily, you know, want the job coach in there all the time, or, you know, it just makes sense to perhaps have a coworker provide those. What we can do is, you know, utilize funds from the long-term care system. So like Darren, you just heard from a managed care organization, or from the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, to provide a reimbursement to the business for stepping up and providing that extra support, so that the job coach can go and, you know, help other people that have training needs, you know, get into jobs with employers as well. Next slide. So like I said, the funding for the reimbursement to employers to provide those little bit more support to employees on the job comes from either the, you know, Medicaid long-term care system, so what we call, you know, managed care organizations, or IRIS consultant agencies, IRIS, and also from our Division of Vocational Rehabilitation under the Department of Workforce Development. And so what happens is those funds, making it easier on an employer, would go to the service agency to reimburse the employer for those additional supports that they're providing an employee with an intellectual or developmental disability over the long term. So rather than, you know, which is a much less bureaucratic way than you having to bill a managed care organization, or, you know, get a DVR, Division of Vocational Rehabilitation, authorization. So it's a nice simple arrangement between a service agency and an employer, and then the service agency checks in with the employer and supports the employer through all of what they need to fully support their employee with an intellectual and developmental disability. All right.
And Shannon, I just want to make sure that you have time to go over some of the outcomes quickly before we get to our success stories.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, so you know, what works well is that not everybody who has a job coach needs a job coach with them all the time. It's really, this is an ideal model with that coworker support and reimbursement to the employer for people who just have intermittent support needs. They don't need a job coach directing them or supporting them all the time, but really just strategic times throughout their shift that some additional supports that are needed. All right, next slide. And in terms of outcomes, so, you know, the one of the reasons, like I said, that the legislature passed this funding bill is to really increase employment opportunities for people with disabilities and build capacity, and, you know, within businesses and service agencies to make that happen through best practice, but also to save Medicaid dollars, long-term care Medicaid dollars in our state, because it's Medicaid dollars that, you know, taxpayer money that pays for job coaches in the long run, and that's a pretty expensive way to support people long-term in a job. But if we can work with employers to really just strategically provide those additional supports, there's Medicaid savings. And so what we found, you know, over time, because we have to keep track of the, you know, pilot participants and people that are being employed through these grant efforts, we found that, you know, 83% of the people involved, you know, had, there was 83% direct job coaching time for people, because employers were able to provide natural supports and increase support to the employees that they hire. So that costs Medicaid a lot less. There was a significant reduction, as you can see on the slide, 48% for those people in Medicaid long-term care costs. And then we also see that when people are fully included in the workplace and and with their coworkers and whatnot, that there's an increase in hours, and the person is happier and on the job and more productive. So next slide, please. And this is just a situation where a gentleman at a grocery store, has paid coworker supports. He actually works at a healthcare facility as well, and has paid coworker supports there. So instead of sending in a job coach that would assist him on and off throughout his shift, a coworker at the grocery store just steps in when he needs a little extra help, stops what she's doing, and the employer has provided a reimbursement for that extra support that they're providing to this young man, Brian. And if you want some more information, the last slide, there's my contact information. Feel free to reach out and ask about getting on the list for that the grant funds, or if you have more questions about what this is, because this is a short commercial, I'd be happy to talk with you more. So thanks a lot, Jamie.
Great, thank you so much. And now we're going to turn it over to Jakeem for a great success story with the Bucks.
Yes, yes. I mean, the presenters. I walked away with a lot of different gems, and I look forward to the official presentation being sent out as we continue making a positive impact. So, give a round of applause for all of our presenters today. All good. So I just wanted to share one of our success stories, and I had a picture of Hunter. He's pretty famous within the Bucks family and community as well. Hunter Peterson, who works part-time for our Hoop Troops team, who really keeps the fans engaged and on their feet during the playoffs and the regular season games. So he does an amazing job within our Hoop Troop department. He has Down syndrome, but he's definitely amazing. He keeps our department going. He keeps pushing our organization forward. He keeps our fans and guests very engaged and happy. So he's a huge part of our success here. So we want to continue, building the talent pipeline, like I said, for individuals with disabilities, and creating an environment where they can thrive like Hunter. Thank you all, and I will be passing the baton to Advocate Aurora Health.
Thank you, Jakeem, and we're all going to come on camera here and let me spotlight us. So give me a minute. So hi, my name is Anna Helbig. I'm a program manager with workforce development at Advocate Aurora Health. And as you see, I have some people joining me on the screen as well. So just a quick story about us. So we consider diverse talent amazing to our workforce, and that includes people with disabilities. Because we know that diverse teams leads to more success, which, as everyone who's spoken today has kind of alluded to that as well, or said that as well. So we've been intentionally doing this since 2017, sort of our journey. We know that it happened prior to that, but that's sort of when we had an intentional system to do that. And that system is all encompassing. We provide education to our leaders. We have a great recruitment, which we're going to hear for a second, and our operations leaders and hiring leaders are right on board to make that space welcoming to everyone. So now I'm going to turn it over to Kim, who is an integral part of the recipe to success that I know that Troy had mentioned at the beginning as well. So Kim, I'll turn it over to you.
Take myself off mute. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Kwetschke, and I'm a talent sourcing specialist at Advocate Aurora Healthcare. And I'm going to try to be quick today because I really want to give the stage to a couple of our other important team members here today. And I know we're approaching time for our meeting. So I can share with you that I have a real passion for connecting connecting individuals with disabilities with employment, and importantly, employment that will meet their own personal goals, employment that they're going to feel proud of, and in addition, of course, a work environment where they're going to feel included. And really, those are things that we all strive to have in our jobs, of course. So really, my work with our program, Employing Individuals with Disabilities, starts long before I work with the candidate, because importantly, I need to start out by building partnerships and relationships with organizations that work with disabilities. So I'm going to work to get to know their organization, as well as inform them about Aurora Healthcare and all the different types of opportunities that we have available within our organization. So once I get a referral from our community partner, what I need to do is I connect with the candidate and their job developer, importantly, and I work closely with their job developer during our job search together. And I get to know the candidate and a little bit about, what excites them, what they're really looking for. And importantly, the job developer helps me to understand what the individual's strengths are. So we know that we can identify an area where they're going to succeed and be successful. So the next step is we're going to prepare the candidate for the interview process. And in that preparation, we need to find out if, is the candidate really going to feel comfortable with our traditional interview process at Aurora Healthcare? And our traditional interview process is called behavioral interviewing. So, during that process, we're going to ask the candidate questions where they're going to need to give us examples based on their past work. And really, when you think about it, an interview process can be nerve-wracking for all of us. And so what we want to do is we really want to help the candidate to feel most comfortable. And so that traditional process isn't always going to help that candidate shine and help them demonstrate who they really are and in their strengths. So sometimes what we do is we decide to do something called, we have the candidate put something together called an elevator speech, where they can talk about, their goals and their past experiences and their strengths, and talk about it in a way that they feel comfortable. So the next step is, once we identify this position, is importantly, I'm going to connect with the hiring leader in the department. And what I want to do is I want to connect with a hiring leader where in that department, they've already built a culture of inclusivity. So I'm going to connect with the hiring leader. And if they're not already familiar with the referring organization, I'm going to tell them a little bit about the organization and what services they provide. And importantly, I do want to let them know if the referring organization has any special services, like providing a job coach. And then also telling them, what does a job coach do? That may be something that some of us are familiar with, but not all of our hiring leaders are. And, to explain to them, what a wonderful resource that is. So beyond that, I'm going to talk to the hiring leader about the individual's strengths and, why I think that they may be a good match for this position that we're targeting. And on the other hand, we do want to focus on their strengths, but if there is anything that the candidate may be challenged with, if it's something in the job description, or if it's just not a job duty where they would be at their best, I do want to talk about that as well. So finally, I'm going to work with the hiring leader on the interview process. So this could mean, again, talking to the hiring leader about, is this process going to look a little different? Is the candidate going to use an elevator speech instead of that behavior interviewing? And then, will I help facilitate that interview? That's That's not required, but I do make myself available to do that too, especially since these interviews sometimes do look a little bit different. Importantly too, during that interview process, some of our departments do provide a job shadowing experience, which I think is really nice, you know, for individuals with disabilities. But again, I think that's nice for all of us when we're looking to start a new job, is to actually see it and get a, you know, that's where we can really get a feel for, you know, am I going to feel comfortable there? So we do like to offer that up when possible. So then at this point, after they go through the interview process, where, you know, we hope we have a hire, we can make a job offer. And if that happens, then I really think that so much of the important work is done after that hire, and that so much of the success of this new hire or the candidate that we had go through the process is going to be closely tied to the environment of the department. And before, I referred to an inclusive work environment. And so whether that's already in place. So what I want to do is I want to turn the next part of our presentation over to our one of our managers at West Dallas Medical Center Food and Nutrition Services, Eric Haney. And we also have one of our amazing team members here with us today, Nick.
Thank you, Kim, and good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully everybody can hear me. We don't have any fancy slideshows, so Nick and I are trying to keep ourselves on the screen. So as Kim said, I'm the food and nutrition manager here at West Dallas Medical Center, and one of my responsibilities is working with our recruiters to identify strong potential candidates to join our team. And Kim has been an excellent partner in doing this, in sourcing great candidates to join our team here at West Dallas. So she took you through the pre-interview, the interview, on up until the job shadow. So I appreciate that. She did some of my legwork for me. So yeah, really the experience is very, very similar to what we do for all of our candidates and all of our open positions. We try to keep it kind of seamless that way, with just a few little tweaks, as she mentioned, whether or not they need a little different interview style. But at that point, she's right. We do the job shadow. I think that's a benefit to both the candidate, our team, allows them to ask some questions, get a comfort level within the department and with the team. So yeah, it has benefits for both. Then, yep, that's exactly right. The next thing is we hope that we're able to make an offer, come up with a start date, talk about onboarding, discuss whether or not they're going to be utilizing a job coach in their first few months and what that might look like and how that communication is going to work out. And typically here at West Dallas, what we start off our team members is just a very, you know, two or three work days a week, maybe 3 hours a day, just to see how that's going to work out for them. So we do discuss that schedule around what's going to work best for the team member and for our team. But I have to say, what makes this experience special is what happens within our department after all of that happens. So when that team member joins our team is when the magic really, really happens. And I have to say, one of the things I identified, I've been with West Dallas for about 4 years now. And one of the things that just jumped out about the culture when I came and continues to amaze me is one of Advocate Aurora's values is valuing differences. And I actually looked that up real quick because I just wanted to cheat and use this real quickly, a couple bullet points. But showing openness and respect to people and groups regardless of their background. Seeking opportunities to learn and put into practice ideas from others who have different perspectives, backgrounds, or styles. And helping to create an environment where everyone feels comfortable. I mean, that says it all for me when I look at how our team interacts with these individuals with different disabilities. They see it as an opportunity. They see hiring these individuals as something that makes them stronger, not weaker. It's not a hindrance. It's really amazing to watch this kind of grow and develop. And I've had several team members come to me, and myself included, recognizing the joy that these team members that they get from these team members, because they're part of giving them the opportunity to grow, develop, and succeed. So it's not just, hey, look at us helping others. It's look at how these others are helping us and turning our department into something that could have never been otherwise. So being part of that is just incredibly rewarding. Some things that come to mind: kindness, patience, encouragement, compassion. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean, I was laying in bed thinking about what words come to mind, but those are just a few that describe what I've witnessed watching our team, working with team members with different disabilities. It has made me personally and our team so much stronger than we would be otherwise, as I said before. So without further ado, and hopefully he's on camera here now, I would like to introduce Nick McClure. He's one of our food service assistants that works here in the kitchen. Nick joined our team back in November of 2018. So he's been here almost as long as I have, a little over 3 years now. And I have to attest, I love the myths. They are all myths. The attendance myth is a big one. I was talking to Nick before we went live here, and I honestly don't think he's been absent a single day in 3 years. He takes a cab back and forth to work, and we have now, that cab's coming in 10 minutes. But I mean, as far as dedication, commitment to their job and work responsibilities, I can attest to that. He is a phenomenal worker. So I'm going to ask Nick a few quick questions if he doesn't mind. Is that all right, Nick? Mm-hmm. All right. So why don't you tell us what you like and why you've been here for 3 years? What do you like working about? What do you like about working at West Dallas?
Well, I would like to say that the thing I like working here is there are a lot of great people who encourage and support me around you.
Okay. And what kind of things have you learned, or what kind of things you do here in the kitchen? Slide up. Yep, sit a little bit closer so I can hear you. What kind of things do you do in the kitchen, Nick?
I mostly do portion. I mostly do portioning. Like broccoli, carrots, rice, green beans.
Do you ever work with a knife for us?
No, I don't really do a knife.
Yeah, we picked Nick out of the crowd because Nick's got some pretty impressive knife skills. So when he needs to, he can really work with the knife quite well. So what did you say in the beginning that you liked? I don't know if everybody heard you. Why do you like working here? What do you like best about working here?
I like working here because all the great people like me.
You like working here because of all the great people?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And you're one of those, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we want to thank Nick for joining us today. He worked a little extra for us, stayed an extra hour so he could be on this call. But I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to all of you today and share this success story. And thanks for giving us a few extra minutes. I'm going to turn it back over to Troy for some closing comments.
Yeah, great. Well, that doesn't put the cherry on the sundae for today. I'm not sure what will. Really appreciate my colleagues from Advocate Aurora joining us here to close out the session. Just a few takeaways. I know we're way over. First, I know we kind of got out of the gate here. Let me acknowledge a little clunky with some of the logistics and the video and the slides. We'll get that fixed as we learn more about virtual sessions like this, and we'll get those under control. Second, very important, is organizations struggle to find talent. There's a pool of talent out there that's untapped and ready for us all to tap it. And thirdly, this can feel a little bit overwhelming at times, but today you heard from so many different suppliers, resources, and other information that's available to you. And we're going to make sure we put that on our website so you can tap in to those resources and ensure that we can get the help you need to get started in this journey of hiring employees with disabilities, which is so important. I'll end with a quote that Jakeem mentioned earlier today, and that's, it takes a village to make this work. And I guess I'm inviting all of you to join this village on our journey to hiring those with disabilities and gaining all the rewards from doing so. So thank you very much. And until next time, we'll see you. Thanks.